So today we're going to work on the lower body, so foot freedom. We're going to work on the feet as well as the lower legs. And maybe into even the sides of the legs a little bit, up towards the hips. I want to work on the side-to-side direction of the feet in particular today. I feel like I often work on the going front to back, improving the calf mobility. Hope I lost you on my computer again. Working on the calf mobility. But today I really want to work on the inversion and eversion motion and the in and out portions of the lower leg and the thigh. So let's grab our tools. Today I want to use a few different things, and you can be creative using whatever you have. We're going to start rolling, and to start rolling we're going to use our standard size therapy balls. Not going to need to take them out of the tote. I mean, you're going to need to take them out of the tote, so I suggest using one for one foot and then one for the other, because I think it just makes it really much better for the wear of your balls. So take your therapy balls out of the tote. Then we'll move up and we'll move into the shin, and we'll work the inside and outside portions of the shin. The standard size therapy balls are fine, but I actually tend to like my plus size therapy balls as I move upward. And then we're going to move into the inner and outer portions of the upper leg. And here we can use a plus on each side of the thigh. And if you have the plus, or a standard size, if you use a smaller ball on each side of the thigh, I recommend using a block as well. And if you're, just so that you fill the space between the thighs so that you get good pressure. And here you could also use an alpha ball as well. And I think what I'll probably do is I'll stack my plus balls on the outside and then take my alpha ball on the inside, and I'm just going to get a nice roll up both sides of the thigh. And that's going to help us work on that side-to-side mobility, inner and outer leg. That helps control the movement of the knee inward and outward as well. Wait, I'm sideways now. Am I sideways for you?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
whatever you did just made me sideways. And my husband was trying to help me.
Yay.
Oh, there we go, I'm back.
Sorry.
Okay, so now we're back. That's kind of the kind of where we're going. So gather what you need, and then let's make our way to stand to begin taking your standard therapy ball right to the high point of the arch. I'm going to come to my right foot first. And I'm just going to press my weight into the high point of the arch on the right foot. Just meeting the sensation of where the body and ball meet or approximate. Taking a few deep breaths right into that point, grounding. Feeling the sensation right in that approximation. Keeping the right knee soft, letting the body be heavy. And now I'm going to start to roll over the ball, bringing the pinky toe side of the foot to the floor, and then bringing the big toe side of the foot to the floor. And if you've practiced with me before, you know that oftentimes I like to brace or stabilize my thigh. And I'm just rolling over the ball, kind of like a rainbow, right in that high point of the arch. And then I'm going to move that ball upward towards the ball of the foot. So now the ball, or the broadest part of my foot, is over the therapy ball. And I'm going to continue with the same motion. You'll feel more movement here because now this is broader and you have a longer lever. Side to side, feeling that mobility in the foot and ankle. And then pausing, coming back to the high point of the arch. And this is my favorite, so we'll throw this one in there because it winds up with all directions. Press right down and start to spin like you're compressing a spring. Wind up the therapy ball underneath your foot, keeping the tension, keeping the pressure, feeling the pressure build. See if you can become heavy into it, like a weight, maintaining the pressure just like the top of a Jack in a Box. Staying with it, leaning into the resistance, and then gently removing the pressure, feeling the unwinding, and then stepping off. And just feeling the difference between your feet now. Hopefully the side that you just rolled, for me it was the right, feels broader and more firmly planted on the earth. And now let's go to the other side. Take your other ball so that they wear evenly. Come right into the high point of the arch. Press down. Take a few deep breaths. Feeling the body be heavy. Bring your breath right to where the ball and the body meet. Softening any guarding or resistance against that sensation. And then allowing yourself to roll over the ball. Or a rainbow. The arch of the foot is so critical. Like when you think about the construction or actual architecture of arches, that high point, or the keystone, usually they call it the key of the arch right at the top, is really critical on the balance and sustainability for the rest of the posture. And in a way, the arch of our foot is that for our body. It's this foundation on which everything else stacks. And when we lose the arch of the foot, we start to get collapsing of the structure in the rest of the body, and the knees and the hips and the spine and the pelvis and then the spine on top of that. And then if the arch is too rigid, we can't move well and accommodate to the changing surfaces, then we become too rigid kind of through our bodies, and we don't have good shock absorption. So the arch is super critical for both maintaining a balance between mobility and stability. So it's really great to work in this area. And then slide the ball up towards the forefoot, broadest part of the foot, just beneath the base of the toes. Big toe touches, pinky toe touches. Trying to get that movement from the foot stabilizing the knee if necessary. There'll be a little accessory movement. But this feeling that really tells you how moving the foot affects all the way up to the knee, to the hip. And you can start to observe, where's the movement coming from? You don't have to judge, just observe and say, oh yeah, I'm really moving from here. Couple more passes. And then rolling the ball back to that high point of the arch, right in the middle of the foot, twist it up, press down and wind up. And then pause. Feel yourself be heavy, just like a weight coming down on that spring. See if you can feel the groundedness through the body without tightening. Take about 3 more breaths here, breathing into the resistance. And please let me know again if anything funny happens. You're still going in and out on my computer. I keep reconnecting, and whenever I look at the computer, what I'm doing is totally different than what I see. So just let me know. Hopefully it's looking okay on the phone. And then slowly release the pressure. Feel that recoiling or springing up of the ball. And then release, just coming back to stand. Really feeling the feet now on the earth. Feeling that foundation. Feeling the lifting of the arch. And see if you can feel as the arch lifts, it lifts the knee and rotates the knee out a little bit, rotates the thigh out a little bit, and pulls the body upward, giving it that suspensory strength and stability. Now let's come down towards the floor. We'll stay on the floor now. One more thing with this standard size therapy ball. Using one, I want to bring it to just the outside of the ankle. So here, this outside ankle bone is your lateral malleolus. And since we're doing this side to side action, that's the primary action of an ankle sprain. So I want to come just below and maybe like 30 degrees in front. There should be like a little divot that the ball just kind of sits in. And then I'm going to place the foot and the lower leg over the ball. So I create a little compression here. And now I'm going to stabilize the ankle, but I'm going to move the foot side to side. So I'm going to kind of pull the foot up and then drop the foot down. Pull the foot up. And what I'm doing is I'm just mobilizing over all those ankle tendons, ankle ligaments that stabilize the ankle. And you may reposition the ball. And it's just this little pin and stretch of the ankle ligament right around the malleolus. And you might feel something if you have a history of ankle sprains in particular. You might feel nothing at all. But I'm just moving the ankle into supination or inversion and then pronation or eversion. Just getting that side to side movement of the foot now without the foot being on the ground. And then let's actually keep this leg in front. I'm going to switch, like I said, to my plus size balls. I'm going to take one under And this, I have my leg out in front of me like 90 degrees. The other leg can be out to the side, or if you prefer, it could be behind you. Just find whatever position is more comfortable for you. And now I'm going to come to the outside of the fibula. So I'll feel that bony ridge, and I'm going to come right behind it. And then I'm going to take my other ball, and I'm going to sandwich it. And I'm just going to use my hand today. I'm going to really just take that ball and bring it right behind now the edge of the tibia. So I'm creating this clamping around the calf. And as I clamp the calf, I'm going to do a little pin and stretch. So I'm going to point and flex. And then I'm going to move the foot side to side. So inversion and eversion, or pronation and supination. And then I'm going to circle. And so the balls are just acting as a clamp so that I'm increasing the glide and the slide right around that stacking of the balls. And I'm going to move the ball up more towards the middle of the lower leg. I'm just kind of cradling my leg side to side a little bit to find that just right spot for me to stop, where I feel a point of density, sensation, or resistance. I'm going to take the therapy ball towards the top so that I create a sandwich, like a calf sandwich. If you want, in that top ball, you could even wind up the ball if you'd like, creating a little bit more tension. That really put a lot of pull. As soon as I started pinning and stretching or moving my ankle, I got a lot of pull there. And then see what happens as you move the foot side to side. And notice how it might be hard for you to actually move the foot side to side, especially without the floor to give you that orientation. And then what happens if you circle the ankle? And I'm finding it hard to actually circle as I clamp down on this area. And then now, let's find one more, actually, let's come to the other side. And we'll find one more spot towards the top of the calf as we lie onto our side. So I'm going to come to the other side first. I'm going to find the outside edge of the ankle bone. I'm going to move my therapy ball along the edge of the ankle bone, compressing the ligaments that stabilize the outside of my ankle. And now I'm going to move my foot side to side. And since this is our first time doing that pronation and supination while we're sitting, you may even use your hand to help you because it might feel a little awkward. Reposition the ball along the bone. It's kind of that crescent moon shape or half moon shape. You may feel a few points of tenderness if you have a history of ankle sprain. And I love working the feet because working the feet has this systemic effect on the whole body. Reflexology is a treatment of the whole body through the structure of the foot based upon embryology, and then as well as energetic lines of the body. And then now go ahead, remove that ball. I'm going to come to the slightly bigger balls, but you can stay with your standard size therapy balls. None is better than the other. I'm just going to put one ball underneath my shin, so along the outside edge of the bone or the fibula, just behind it. And I'm just going to cradle the leg just for a moment to find a spot of sensation. So I can find that just right spot and land there. And I'm going to take my other therapy ball and sandwich the calf. As I sandwich the calf, this top ball could wind up if you wanted, kind of grab the skin and create a little twist. And when I do that little twist, I really get increased clamping because I start to take up the slack in multiple directions. And now I'm going to move my ankle, point and flex, in and out. You deciding which movement feels right or gets right to the point. Repositioning the balls as necessary. I'm going to move up, cradling the leg again, finding a point more towards the middle. Yeah, more towards the bulky parts of my calf. Coming just behind the edge of the tibia. And then winding up that top ball, clamping down. Moving the foot and ankle in all directions. And then if you rotate, making sure you rotate in both directions. And release. Okay, I'm going to stay with the two balls, but as I come higher in the thigh, all of you know I like to be a little bit lazy, coming down as close to the floor as possible, doing as little work as possible. I'm going to come onto my side, and let's see, I'm going to support my head too, just because it feels nice. And I'm going to take, now in the upper part of the shin, one ball to the inside, one to the outside, and I'm going to sandwich the shin just below the knee now, below the ridge of the tibia. And I'm going to bend and straighten my knee just a tiny bit, pulling my knees towards. I start to strip along the outside edge of the fibula bone. And then as I strip, by just curling my knees in towards fetal position and lengthening out a little bit, I can pause and find stillness. And then I'm going to point and flex. Invert and evert, move side to side with the foot. And then circle. As we clamp the calf in this way, we're getting into a lot more of those deep myofascial kind of compartments of the lower leg and foot versus just rolling along the kind of meat of the calf. As we kind of get between the muscles, it allows us to get deeper, to create a little bit more freedom of how the actual mobility of the lower leg is. And then find a moment of stillness. And I'm going to take the balls up now to above the knee. And so I come right above the knee joint. There's kind of a breadth where the condyles of the femur are. So just above that where it starts to narrow in. And I find that if I stick with the smaller balls, I feel like it's a little too narrow. So I tend to like to use, if I use a plus size or standard size, I also wedge a block in there so that I can just get more pressure so that I don't have to work so hard. But you could also use the alpha ball, so play with what you have. There's no right version, whatever just feels right in your body. And now I'm just going to sandwich the femur so I get the adductors and I get the IT band. And you might decide if you need a little bit more surface area, place two of the plus balls or two of the standard balls in the outside of the thigh. And to find that to land at the just right spot, I'm going to bend and straighten my knees a little bit up and down towards my chest. Then I'm going to pause. And now I'm going to start to pin and stretch along the upper leg by bending and straightening my knee. And don't try to go through the full motion right away. Like, ease into it. You might only find just a little arc of mobility to begin. And then you'll feel it start to tweeze out. Glide and slide freely. And then maybe move up again towards the middle of the IT band and middle of the adductor muscles. I find that as I move up higher, it gets more tender. And again, play with the tools that you use. Like, I could say, oh, I'm going to switch to the alpha ball on the outside because that's a broader surface area. And I'm going to keep that plus size ball on the inside and with the block. No right way. That made it a little better for me so that I wasn't bracing or guarding in the IT bands. And then I'm going to move up again. I'm going to stick with the plus size balls now. Now I'm in the upper third of the adductor and IT band. Maybe even just finding stillness, pausing and observing what you're feeling. Taking about 5 more breaths here. And then removing the balls. I'm going to stay on my side, but I'm going to just unroll towards my back for a moment momentarily to place my plus size therapy ball in the outside of my hip. So now I'm behind the hip bone in my glute, and I'm going to roll back onto it. I'm going to take the other leg like a kickstand because that's going to unweight me a little bit. If I lie all the way on my glute, I'm just going to be clenching against it. So this other leg just gives me a little bit of unweighting and relief. So now the whole outer side of my foot is on the floor. And the outside of the foot, so the eversion action of the foot, is closely tied to the recruitment of the glutes. And when we don't have good eversion, we don't have good glute activation either. So I want you to push the pinky toe side of the foot into the floor. And then I want you to also feel the glute engage so that you're pushing down with your foot, down with your knee, and clenching in the glute on the right side. I want you to hold that for about 5 more seconds, pushing down, activating the outer line of the leg. You might even feel the left glute want to work as well. And then release and sink down. Reposition that ball in the glute area if necessary, finding that just right spot. Sometimes when you first land, you just kind of land there and not sure where you until you get that contraction and relaxation, and then you're like, oh, it needs to go right here. So find that just right spot, and then push the pinky toe into the floor. So it's kind of like the pinky toe swings out. As you swing the pinky toe out to the floor, feel how that action of the foot stimulates the gluteal contraction here. Hold it for 3, 2, 1, and release. And then let's do that one more time so you can really feel that connection. Pinky toe side swings out as you push the pinky toe into the floor. Feel how that motion initiates the gluteal contraction. Push the whole outer leg into the floor, engaging the outer line of the glutes, the hip, and the foot and lower leg. You may even feel a little cramping in the lower leg as you're pushing the pinky toe down for 3, 2, 1, and release. Nice work. Now let's transition over to the other side. I'm going to flip. If you just want to roll over, that's totally fine. If you pass through your back, maybe lie on your back for a moment, sensing now the difference between the two sides. And as I arrive on my other side, I'm going to place the therapy balls a little bit lower below the knee. So in that upper shin area, towards the top third of the shin. And I held off on this just so we could be a little bit lazy. And I say that in a good way because as we move into these deep layers of the body, of how we hold ourselves up, our patterns and our postures that we tend towards, we don't want those to influence or play into how we address the body. So we may be guarding, we may be imbalanced, we may hold ourselves up in ways that aren't most efficient. So I don't want you to be working as well as exploring. I want you to be able to feel supported so that you have the ability to sort of go into areas that may feel unusual or uncomfortable or unfamiliar. So arrive in a point of tenderness in that upper outer shin, clamping the whole calf from right where they meet the bones, pinning and stretching the deeper fibers of the calf. Maybe circling the foot one way and then the other. Finding that just right spot of sensation, observing where you feel a difference in density, maybe a difference in sensation. Noticing the difference between just pressure and then the sharpness, possibly of areas that are more restricted. And then staying with those areas of tension, of density or sensation, until the symptoms just start to mellow and subside. And then when you feel ready, reach just above the knee. So there's the broad part of the femur as it creates the condyles and comes into the knee joint. So just above that broad part of the knee, the balls will kind of dip into just a little bit more of a narrow section as you come into the long shaft of the bone. And then sandwich the shaft of the bone. And then we're going to free up the tissues on the inside and outside edges or lines of the femur by now using the knee flexion as an extension as a lever. as a pulley. So as we pull, as we have this tug of straightening and bending, we start to free up the fibers so they can glide and slide nicely. And so a lot of times it's this, the lacking of that sliding action of all our tissues along one another, that prevents us from having full movement. It's only sometimes muscle length, but more likely it's this functional shortening because the tissues don't move fluidly on one another. They get bound down or knotted up, caught up, maybe from scar tissue, maybe from dehydration. The body's over 75% water. So if we have this chronic internal dehydration, we won't have good movement of those tissues either. And then especially as we age, and now as we move into summer, that's drier, we won't have that same fluid water capacity. So hydration is such an important part of this work as well. Keep moving the balls up, sandwiching along different parts of the femur where you feel sensation, using whichever balls feel right for you, taking the block to fill that space to create that sandwiching of the thigh. If you don't have a block, a book or a blanket will do just fine too. And maybe if you find yourself guarding or bracing as you move up the thigh, maybe just pausing and providing sustained compression, finding stillness, leaning into the sensation, and welcoming sensation with ball and body meet is the right tool for you. So often less is more. Find maybe one or two more spots, moving up the femur, longest bone of the body. So spending a good amount of time here, freeing up the inside and outside edges. Improving our ability to move side to side. One more spot. And then release all of the props. Roll partially onto your back for a moment, knowing that you're going to come right back towards your side. Placing the therapy ball right in the meaty part of the glute, and then rolling back over it, keeping the right leg now as a kickstand. Left foot is pushing down into the floor. As you push the left foot down into the floor, feel how that initiation from the foot creates an activation of the glute, as you'll feel the glute push into the ball, pushing the foot down, pushing the knee down, feeling the glute contract, engage the whole outer line of the left leg. And then release. Let's do 2 more rounds. Press the foot into the floor, press the knee into the floor, feel the outer line of the left leg engage, engaging the glutes, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and releasing. Last round. Press, engage, even feel this little cramping maybe in the outside of the foot because you're not used to using it in this way. Foot pressing down stimulates the glute to turn on. Feel that connection and outer stability beginning at the foot, moving up the leg, right to the butt. This is what controls your knee. And release. Nice work. Roll off of your ball. Come to sitting. We have one more stretch in sitting. And I want to give you an option on how to come into it. So I really love doing this as a nice hip opening because we have this hip opening to here. So I'm going to take my right foot on top of my left knee. And my knee and my foot on the right side don't meet, so I could take a Coregeous ball here. I could take a block or a blanket here. It's gonna start to go down, but this is a hard action to do. If sitting on the floor and doing this is too much, you can just sit in a cross-legged position in a chair, or maybe you just straighten out the bottom leg. This is great too. But we just did this nice outer hip opening, so I'm gonna curl my bottom hip under, but the bottom leg could be straight. And now I'm gonna thread my fingers in between my toes. I'm gonna press my pinky finger between my pinky and fourth toe, and then I'm gonna go like so, one finger between each toe. And I'm gonna spread the toes apart. And if you haven't done this before, it's quite intense. And it's quite hard to press those fingers all the way down between the toes. The capacity to have the same dexterity as our hands. So this will help activate between the toes. And now try to thread those fingers down. You may even then move the toes back and forth with the fingers between them. And just sensation. It may be sensational for the foot, it may be sensational for the hands, but this is a really nice thing to come back to. If you have bunions or a bunionette, or if you've had any, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it, but plantar fascia as well, fasciitis as well. This is a really great technique. Just spend about another minute here, noticing what you feel. You may feel a lot, you may feel a little. Breathing into the hips, breathing into the toes. And as you sit here, you'll probably feel the knees start to drop a little at a time. And then go ahead and switch sides. Remove the fingers from between the toes. Wiggle the toes. Feel the difference now in just your ability to sense toe movement from left to right after doing that. And then switch sides. You could take the right leg out straight if it's to begin with the left leg crossed over the right. Or you can stack the shins on top of one another. If your knee and foot don't come to meet, give yourself a little soft prop so that the knee feels supported, and then start to thread your fingers between the toes. If you're really well practiced, you can do both hands to both feet. I always find that I end up compromising one of the spots by trying to get them all in there. Then I'm like, oh, I got to fix it. So I like to do one side at a time. There's no rush. And sit up nice and tall. Allow the knee on the left side now to begin to drop. If it feels right, maybe you even fold forward if you want a little more internal work, folding into yourself. You can use the hands to flex and extend the toes. Just notice in your body where you feel sensation, and just allow yourself to sit with it wherever you are right now. No need to change, no need to rush, no need to make anything happen. Just take the next minute or two just to rest in the sensations of your body, being with yourself as you are. Take about 3 more breaths. And then releasing the hands, releasing the knees, shaking out the legs, shaking out the toes. And then just pausing in a sense of gratitude for the body that allows you to experience all things. I thank all of you for your continued inquiry, curiosity, and practice. Thank you so much for being with me.